What is up, you guys? Diggerdan here, coming at you with another video. Today, I'm doing another book haul. Everything on this shelf here, I'm gonna talk about what I got. And before you judge, some of these were sent by you guys, some of my subscribers, so shout out to you guys. And also, as you notice in the thumbnail / title, this is a couple months worth of book hauls. This is from August and September. And even a couple books from that I've gotten in the first week of October that I'm kind of scrunching in here. So yeah, without further ado, let's dig into it. And over 40 books, crazy stuff. So nice clean shelf, new slate to start. More book haul stuff for the future. But anyway, like I said, some of these were sent by you guys, my subscribers. Spoiler alert, 2 of them are family members and 1 of them is a fellow booktuber. So got connections. It pays off sometimes. But yeah, so first I'm going to start with the couple of books I got from a fellow booktuber and my favorite Australian, Benjamin, over from Benjamin's Book Club, whom, if you're not subscribed to already, you certainly should be. And his vibe is more horror and science fiction. So him and I don't really do horror, but him and I, where we intersect is that science fiction, right? So the 3 books that he got me was, the first one is Horus Rising, wow, by Dan Abbott, which is the first book in the Horus Heresy, because in the last video, or last book haul, I had thrifted book 2, which is the Gods something, book 2, which is False Gods, and I said, I can't start it yet, because I don't have book 1, and Benjamin was nice enough to message me saying, hey, if you put this book on your Amazon wish list, then I'll get it for you. And so sure enough I did, and here it is. So now I owe it to Benjamin to read it. And now book number 2 that he got for me, which may be one of the books I'm most excited about out of this entire haul, if you can believe it, is Empire of Silence by Christopher Rocchio. Now, if I wasn't on BookTube and I heard people say his last name, that is not how I would pronounce it. I don't even know how I'd try to pronounce that, so I'm not even trying. But it is pronounced Rocchio. So in this one, like I said, I'm very, very excited because I've heard only good things about it. And it's, from my understanding, it's kind of like Red Rising, where it's like really science fiction, but it's kind of got the fantastical fantasy elements in it. And I heard Rocchio has amazing prose and great action and all these things. So really excited to dig into this one. And I think Benjamin and I have agreed that we're going to try to read this one together and do some sort of collab. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And now the last book that I got from Benjamin was Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Again, thank you, Benjamin. You're a real friend, and I appreciate you so much. And this one is definitely a chunker. It's only 500, it's not even 600 pages. Just the pages are really thick, I guess. It makes it seem really, really thick. This one, I haven't read any Tchaikovsky yet, and again, I can't be on BookTube, I feel like, and really not hear about him, and I've heard really, really good things, and obviously it's winner of a lot of awards, things like that, so, again, Benjamin, you're a real friend, I appreciate you, brother. And speaking of brothers, my brother Andrew, who I believe you're a subscriber, bro, right? He also has been getting more into books lately as well, so some of the books that I get are kind of overflow from him. And so these next couple are those. One is Stephen Brust's Dragon, which is book like 7 or 8, I think, in the Vlad Talto series, which, again, this entire shelf, if you follow my channel at all, you know that this is all Brust. And so I do have this book already, ironically from Andrew already, but he didn't think he had the copy, and so he reordered it, and then so he had 2 copies. Like, I don't have anything, I don't want it, so he gave it to me. So who knows, maybe in the future I'll do a giveaway. So if you're interested, let me know in the comments. Now, last video I explained that I got a few of the Song of Ice and Fire books. You can actually see them right there. And I explained I have all of the books except a Game of Thrones. And my brother Andrew, he has the proper box set, I believe, and he had this old copy laying around. He's like, all your things are mixed matched anyway, so figured I'd give you this one. This is well loved, good taped up and all that good stuff, so that doesn't bother me. It's really what's the story inside that matters, right? So, and this is a little nostalgic for me because I remember him having this growing up too, just like in his bedroom. So, that's cool. Thanks, bro. Now, another cool one. I don't know how he ended up with this one, but he said this is like a British copy of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, which I think is kind of cool. I do have all my Harry Potter stuff down here, although I need to get a new version of the first 3 books, because the third one is misprint, where there's missing pages and then there's duplicate pages. I don't know if you ever had that. And then the first 2 are just paperback that are like falling apart. So yeah, I'm not begging for those. I'm just saying out loud. So this is like one of the 7 or one of the 3 that I don't need, whatever. But it's really cool because I've only ever owned these covers where like the original release covers. So seeing an alternate cover to me is really fun. So, and now this is probably the newest book that I've received, like the newest release book, and this is The Mercy of Gods by James S.A. Corey. Again, this is the last book gifted to me by my brother Andrew, who's also a subscriber. And this is the first in, what is this? The Captives War series. And he gifted me this one because he had started James S.A. Corey's The Expanse series. I can't remember if he said he finished it or not, but he at least started it and he really enjoyed it. When he saw that this is a new release coming out, so he picked it up and tried it, and he didn't really love it. So he gifted it to me because he wants me to review it. So, Andrew, I promise I'll review this. Maybe not by the end of this year. We'll see. Yeah, if you guys want me to review this sooner rather than later, let me know. Alright, now these next 4 are the last chunk of books that were gifted to me by subscribers, who, like I said, is also a family member. This is from my wife's Aunt Teresa. So shout out to you, Aunt Teresa, you're amazing. This one is Michael J. Sullivan's Age of Myth. She said she was looking at my Amazon wish list, and she was trying to get book 1s, because she didn't want me to like get a book in the middle that I can't really start type thing. So, again, very thoughtful, and I appreciate it. And this one, Michael J. Sullivan is an author in the fantasy realm that I hear a decent amount about, and mostly positive things, but not like a Brandon Sanderson where he's just like way up here, super hype status, you know, where he's kind of more just like a low-key author. So I'm definitely excited to give this one a try. And then this next one is Solo Leveling Volume 9. This is graphic novel, or manga, I think, because it's Korean. And now you're saying, Daniel, she just gifted you a volume, like a first in a series. Why is she giving you number 9? Well, astute listener, because I've already read 1 through 8. I don't own 1 through 8. But then this one just came out in September, and so she pre-ordered it for me, had it sent straight to the house. So again, shout out to you, Aunt Teresa. Very, very thoughtful. And if you're not into, or if you're sort of kind of into graphic novels, things like that, I definitely recommend reading Solo Leveling. It is an anime currently as well, so if you're not that type of thing. I mean, it's a great story. It's really fun. It is lit RPG for sure. Heavy on the lit RPG stuff. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically where the main character, or at least a story in some capacity, has like gamified elements, where in this one, the main character, Jinwoo Sung, he's like a reawakened being, and now he has levels, and as he does stuff, he gains experience points. So just like a real, like a video game RPG, where as your character progresses and you gain new skills, experience, things like that. That's what this is, put in a book. So, or in a graphic novel, and it's really, really fun. So, hey, remember that story when I said that I got some Game of Thrones books, but no, I didn't have Game of Thrones? Well, again, she is very, very thoughtful, and she gifted me the first copy of this. So this is like my first duplicate. So she did say, because I did explain to her after the fact that I got these, and Andrew, my brother Andrew, gave me the old copy, that feel free to give this away in a giveaway. So again, if you want a Game of Thrones potentially, maybe I'll do a giveaway at some point. So, and now the last book from my Aunt Teresa is Brent Weeks's The Black Prism, which is book 1 in the Lightbringer series. This is one that I'm actually really excited to start and try, because I've heard a lot of mixed things about it, where I've heard magic system is really, really cool, but the ending, like book 5, soured a lot of people on the series. And I'm the type of person where I like to make my own opinions or make my own assessment of things, where I will take people's opinions with a grain of salt, especially if it's like a vast majority of people say the ending sucks. Take that with a grain of salt, but again, go into it with an open mind for my own opinion. So, yeah, I'm very excited to start the Black Prism. Alright, I had to start piling stuff there because, like I said, over 40 books. I'm running out of space immediately next to me where I normally stack them. So, just gotta keep going. So everything else from here on out is something that I got secondhand, whether that's from a thrift store or a library sale or a garage sale, rummage sale. I think one of these was from like a church garage sale. Got a decent haul from that. So yeah, so these are all secondhand, and I'm trying to look at these and I can't. I'm gonna fudge some of this because I can't remember. Like I said, it's been a few weeks, couple months in some cases for these, where they all exactly came from. Like which, you don't really care. You're just interested in the books. But just preface by saying that these are all secondhand, which is really fun. So one thing that I do remember where these came from is that I have like half of a series. These came from a library sale, where if you're not familiar, a lot of libraries here in the U.S., they resell books where people donate books, and then they sell them, and then any money that they make on those sold books is donated to the library, right? Which is very important. And if you don't use a library, you should. But these really caught my eye because one is Tor. Now Tor I know is fiction in general, not just science fiction or fantasy, but I know they lean more towards science fiction and fantasy. And so I saw that there was a big stack together, really interested me, and it was bag day, so it was like $5 for a whole bag that I could fill. And this really interested me because it revolves, again, it's fiction, but these all books, People of the River, People of the Sea, People of the Lakes, so on and so forth, all follow different like Native American tribes, and that has always really interested me. It really kind of sparked, I remember in like 4th grade when we did like state history, because I live in Michigan, I grew up here in Michigan, and so part of the state history was exploring some of the tribes. So for our area, it was like the Hurons and the Iroquois, right? And so that was really cool. And then even just like growing up and playing games like Age of Empires 3, where it's colonialism is a very heavy theme, but also like the Native Americans, things like that. So like Native American theme has always been a great interest to me. So I know it's fiction, historical fiction, but still, I think it's going to be fun to read through. And the only catch is that this is like a 14 or 15 book series. In this, I think I'm missing like the first 5 or something like that. But I believe it's a type of books where they're kind of formulaic, kind of like crime fiction, where you can kind of just jump in wherever. I'm not 100% sure on that. Still got to do a little bit of research. But if that's not the case, and I probably want to start with book 1 anyway, but I'll probably just borrow it from the library or something like that. But yeah, my first big chunk of secondhand are all the same series, which is always really fun. So this next chunk, I remember did come from a church rummage sale, and they are all Dragonlance books. So the first one I'll do is Dragons of the Dwarven Depths, Lost Chronicles Volume 1. I've seen a lot of hype, I guess I'll say, around Dragonlance books. Not saying necessarily that they're like the best books ever, but just because there's a lot of nostalgia around it. But it just is like classic high fantasy or high sword and sorcery, you know? So yeah, I just wanted to give these a try for sure, especially since I think these are all book 1s or things like that. The second book out of the 3 is The Black Talon. This is Orc Titans Volume 1. I feel like orcs are really underrepresented in fantasy. Obviously, you get them in like Lord of the Rings, but then outside of that, I feel like it's kind of underutilized. Again, I know I have a lot of fantasy to catch up on. But yeah, that's why I was really attracted to this one. Again, Dragonlance, obviously. But yeah, that's just cool. It looked like they're the villain, so that's always fun. And then the last out of this little chunk, again, Dragonlance, but the Puppet King, the Chaos Wars series. I don't know what number this is in the series, but again, Dragonlance. And it seems a little shorter, so should be able to knock that out pretty quick. And then at that same rummage sale, I saw X-Men Doom, or Doctor Doom, the Chaos Engine Trilogy, Book 1. I didn't know that there were X-Men books, like novels, you know, like prose version. Thought it was just always comics, so that's why it attracted to me. And I think I didn't mention everything from this rummage sale. I think it was like 50 cents for the softback, so it was like kind of hard not to say yes, hard to say no. And because it is Marvel, right, and it's comics, there are some illustrations, which is always fun. A little bit of pictures. And the next one from that same rummage sale was Star Trek Next Generation. I don't have any Star Trek books, except this one, obviously. And I figured I'd start picking them up, because was it Jonathan Cohen or Jonathan Kane on YouTube? I love his videos, and he's big into the Star Trek stuff, and so he's kind of gotten me into it. Again, I'm not going to like buy them brand new, but every time I see secondhand, especially 50 cents, sure, I'll pick it up, because it's not even 300 pages. Very quick read, so. And then the last one that I do remember that came from that rummage sale is Dark Heart by Morgan Weiss and David Baldwin. Now, those sharp-eyed viewers among you, you notice that Margaret Weiss, I'm sorry, how do you say your name, Margaret? Is also author of one of the Dragonlance books. So, and I do have a couple other Dragonlance books that I've thrifted before, and I've seen her name pop up. So when I saw Dragonheart and I saw her name on it, I'm like, figured I'd give it a shot. Yeah, aside from that, I know nothing about this, and that there's a big dragon. So, I think just classic generic fantasy. Can't go wrong. Speaking of classic generic fantasy, you got R.A. Salvatore with the Forgotten Realms. We got Orc King, which is Transitions 1 in the, not Vlad Taltos, what am I saying? The Drizzt series, or Drizzt, however you say his name. The Dark Elf with the Panther. Again, if you've watched me before, you know, you've maybe seen me talk about Drizzt in the past, where something that I've always admired from afar, but don't really know much about, like the character, I've always wanted to dive into. So anytime I see a Salvatore book about him, I want to pick it up. Yeah, because that's a goal I'm going to have probably next year, is really start digging into some of the Salvatore stuff and really read some more Drizzt. Because I've heard really, honestly, mostly good things. Like, the worst I've heard about like Salvatore's writing is that some of it's generic, and I feel like with how like prolific of a writer he is, yeah, you're gonna get some generic tropes just through sheer numbers, right? So, all right, and these next two, again, more generic fantasy, both by Glenn Cook. One is Petty Pewter Gods. Don't really know much about, but again, secondhand, don't pay much for these secondhand books. Hard to say no. I definitely have a problem. Don't tell my wife. She already knows. What am I saying? And then the other one is Dread Brass Shadows. This one, I'm not sure. It kind of reminds me of like Detective something, just based off the cover, which you can't really see all that well. But yeah, again, short, quick read, in just generic fantasy setting. So it worked for me. I'm the fantasy guy, right? So... Now, this next book is a book that I got when I was out shopping with my wife at a like baby reseller consignment shop. It is the Blue Fairy book by Andrew Lang, and it's just a pretty book to look at, right? You got the like gold foil edging, you got like nice hardcover. Like, it just is a pretty book to look on the shelf, right? So that's part of the reason I got it, and like the end paper is just really nice. But the bigger reason I got it is because if you somehow don't know, and if you're a long viewer of this channel, then you know I'm now a dad. And so I'm starting to really pick up books that I can really read to my kid, and hopefully children in the future. Yeah, so hopefully she'll like this. Again, she's only 4 months old, so it's going to be probably a while before she'll actually understand what I'm reading. But at least it's like a collection of fairy books, or fairy stories, fairy tales. That's the word, Daniel. Good job. And no, I did not pay the full $10 for this. I did not get this from Barnes & Noble. Like I said, it was a consignment shop. But anyway, yeah, so that's why I got this one. It's just a pretty book. This is probably like the most expensive. I think I paid $4.50 for this according to this tag. I don't remember if I got % off or whatever, but yeah, let's say $4.50. This is probably the most expensive book that I purchased personally, which is just crazy to me that I can get so many books for so cheap. And again, a lot of that, like everything here was all generosity, so thank you to you guys again. But yeah, this next book I got at a Salvation Army, and again, remember how I said that with book 1, I was excited to get into Brent Weeks's series. I forget what it's called again. Lightbringer series. Ironically, I found this first before she purchased that one for me. And it's book 5. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to get to it eventually. Again, I think I spent like $1 on this, where brand new it's like probably $30, right? Yeah. Suggested retail is $30. But then as I was in line waiting with my wife when we were shopping, I was flipping through it, and I realized that it's signed by the author, which is super, super cool. I think this is only like my second book that's signed by the author, and one was like sent to me directly from some indie author on TikTok. So that's super cool find. Even if this book is a dud for me by the time I get to it and I don't love it, just the fact that it's signed by the author I think is really cool. So, and it's hardcover. How can you hate hardcover? Next, Benjamin, you'll probably enjoy this one. This is Prelude to Foundation by Isaac Asimov. I have not read anything by Asimov, but I really want to. So I forget the reading order. I think this publication date for this one came out after Foundation. I don't know. I could be wrong. So let me know if I can read this first, before, or after I read Foundation. Because when in doubt, personally, I just follow publication order. Because then it just makes it easier. Then you don't have to track down all these guides online and be like, oh, what's the best way to read everything? Look, with Brandon Sanderson stuff, like, that's just too much for me sometimes, guys. There's just so many things. But yeah, Isaac Asimov, Prelude to Foundation. Now these next two, I forget where I got from. Probably a book sale. I think the library sale, could be wrong. But these are both Stephen R. Donaldson's books. One is The Runes of the Earth, and the other is Final Revenant? What was that word? Revenant. Wow, that's really hard for me to say, guys. And what really pulled me for these is Donaldson, because I have my dad's copies of the first Chronicles and then the second Chronicles, if I can point the right direction. And then I thought that was it. But no, these come after the second Chronicles of Thomas the Covenant. These are the last Chronicles of Thomas the Covenant, which I just thought was really interesting because why wouldn't there be more, right? Why can't we milk that a little more? So again, no shade to Donaldson. I just thought it was really cool because I didn't know anything came after. And no, I have not read those books yet from my dad's copies or dad's library. But I would very much like to. I remember trying to read them young. This is book 1. Okay. Trying to read them young in like middle school. I think I explained this before. I think I tried to read Lord Fowl's Bane, which is book 1. And I think I got like 50 pages in and I just DNF'd it. I don't know if like it was too hard prose or what it was. I just remember I didn't really understand what was going on. And so I kind of gave up on it. So that is, now that I'm adult, right? Or at least sort of. I'm at adult age. I don't really act like an adult. But now that I'm adult age, maybe I'll be able to understand it more. So this will just give me a little more motivation to get through that series. So maybe that's something I'll start next year. Next book is To Hold the Bridge by Garth Nix. Now, I personally haven't read anything by Garth Nix, but my little brother Josh, he really enjoyed one of the Garth Nix series growing up. It was like, I forget what it was called, but it was a 7-book series where every book had like a day of the week and then title somehow. I don't remember, but he enjoyed those. I think he gifted them to me, or I have them, so maybe I'll read them at some point. But this one I feel like might be a good entry for me, at least to the author of Garth Nix, because this is a novella and other tales, so it sounds like some short stories too, which could be good. So yeah, to hold the bridge. So remember how I said I like just collecting generic fantasy books? This is another one. This is Vows and Honor by Mercedes Lackey. Honestly, what attracted me to it was the cover, and it was purple, and it was in the fantasy section. I think this one was a library book sale day, I think. And so that attracted me to it, and then I saw fantasy people on the cover. I'm like, sold. So aside from that, I don't really know much about. Aside from Mercedes Lackey's name, I'm vaguely familiar with it. I've seen it, again, I get a lot of older secondhand stuff. So I feel like I've seen her name pop up a few times on old fantasy stuff. So I figured give it another shot. All right, now these next four, I do remember were also from Salvation Army, now that I'm looking at them again. And the first of them is The Land of Stories, A Grim Warning, by Christopher Colifer. And now this is aggressively middle grade. So I don't know when I will get to this, especially the fact that it is book 3 of however many books it is. And the reason I picked it up is because I do have book 1, actually, that I got from a garage sale last summer, I think. But also, again, with my daughter, maybe when she gets a little older, this might be a good one to read to her. I don't know. But yeah, so if you've read this series, let me know. Or if your kids have read it and they liked it, let me know. I'm interested. Next one, again, kind of on that same vein of maybe you could read it to the kid. The Fables of Aesop. Part of the reason I picked it up too, because it's so thin, in hardcover and kind of a nice condition, is I didn't really know what the Fables of Aesop are. And then, like, again, I was in line and I was flipping through these, and they're like just very, very basic. Like, this is like a paragraph and a half of a story, which I honestly think is kind of fun. I don't know. Yeah, again, I don't know anything about Aesop, but I guess they're supposed to be lessons, right? Or things to think about, which I think is kind of fun. So, yeah. Now this next one is another one that I am very, very excited about. Maybe the second most excited. And I was very, very shocked to find this at a Salvation Army, because this is a new release book that came out just this year, like beginning of 2024 at some point, and that is The Daughter's War by Christopher Buehlman. And this is I believe, could be wrong, this is the prequel to it's the yellow cover book, The Black Tongue Thief. I'm looking it over there. And again, I got that book last Christmas, and I've yet to read that, and I've heard only good things about Buehlman. Because he has got another something Fire, The Maiden's Fire. I don't remember the other name. Yeah, heard good things about that. Heard good things about this book. And again, it was only like 50 cents or $1 because it was secondhand, and I was just so freaking shocked because it's a new release that I got secondhand. Like, that is insane. So this is probably the second newest book, release date wise, that I've gotten in this haul after the James S.A. Corey one. So yeah. All right, now last book that I got in the month of August or September is the Andromeda Evolution. I was thrown off because I thought it was Michael Crichton, and it's Michael Crichton series, I guess, but I didn't realize he passed away a number of years ago. And this one is actually by Daniel Wilson. So this is book 2 in the series, and I didn't realize that until I got home and was looking at it on Goodreads a little closer. But again, this is very nice condition. Seems new. I don't remember what year this came out. Yeah, this is from 2019, and I don't remember what year Crichton passed away in. It says in the back. He passed away in 2008, so that's longer than I was thinking. But again, Michael Crichton, I've heard he's just really good things. He's got Jurassic Park under his belt. There's another one called Timeline that I've heard really good things about that I got on the shelf up there that you can't see, that I plan on reading eventually. So yeah, I'm excited about this one. Just the only catch is that this is book 2 or book 3 in the series. So I'll probably have to wait until I get book 1 to read that. But yeah, there you go. The Andromeda Evolution. And now these last 2 books I recently got at the 2 that I got in October that I'm shoving in here just so I can say over 40 books in the thumbnail. And again, I got it from library book sale. We got there on like the last day of the sale, and it was in the afternoon, like the last couple hours. So it was really, really picked over. I think there was literally 2 or 3 books in like the little box that said fantasy/sci-fi, and I think 2 of the 3 of those books were actually westerns that I had no interest in. So the one book that was fantasy that I decided to pick up was The Silken Shroud by Elizabeth Gilligan, and unfortunately it is a book 2. This is The Silken Magic book 2. But who knows? Maybe I'll read it, the premise, and be really interested and decide to pick up book 1, probably from the library or something like that. So yeah, this is the one book that I got from that sale. And then the other one is White Space, book 1 of the Dark Passages by Ilsa J. Bick. And this was in the YA section. I feel like if I don't really find much in the sci-fi and fantasy section, usually I can find something in YA. I know nothing about this aside from it's YA. Again, this was like 50 cents. And I have a problem, as you can see, having over 40 books in the last 10 weeks, we'll call it. That's an average of 4 books a week. That's kind of excessive. Again, some of these were gifted, and I appreciate you guys for that gift of these. Yeah. So what do you guys think? What are some of the ones that you guys are most excited for me to read and have me review? If I ever get around to reviewing stuff again. Yeah. So shout out to everybody that got me stuff. And I hate to ask, but I will let you know down below. If you guys do want to get me specific books, I do have an Amazon wish list down below. Again, never expect anything, but it kind of makes these a little more fun, a little more relatable, saying, hey, this person got me this, so it's really fun. But yeah, over 40 books. Do I really need more? No, but the option's there. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like down below. If you guys want to see more from me, Diggerdan, please hit that subscribe button, as well as that bell notification icon, so you guys know when I upload each and every single time. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys.